So welcome again to our podcast in Bringing Up Boys. We're talking about how you raise boys, particularly in the light of all the stuff that's been going on. People are asking this question about raising boys in the light of how girls are being treated, really, and particularly how they've been treated sexually as sort of sexual objects by boys in schools and so forth. A really good article in the Times back in March 2021 called "Toxic Boys: What Parents Need to Know About Bringing Up Boys." And there's some really good thoughts here, which are largely based on Christian traditions, but have sort of removed God, haven't they, and removed the Christian things. I'm Pete Woodcock. I'm the pastor of Cornerstone Church. I'm joined again by Dean and Chris Dryden. Because they wouldn't call themselves experts at bringing up children, but they have brought up 5 children, and so in many ways
experts at making them, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
At learning lessons from
definitely learning lessons.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
and that's all we're saying here. We're not suggesting that we're experts, but we are saying that here's some stuff that we've noticed, and we're trying to bring boys up. Today, we're dealing with pornography. And so in this article, he has this little section that says, by the age of 11, you should have had a conversation about online pornography. Is that right, Dean?
I think so. I think definitely, it's so hard. It's a yes and a no, right? So I think the point is you have to know your kid. Some would say this is way too late. Some would say this is way too early. So it really is tricky. If your kid has a phone with internet access, you have to have some kind of conversation about what they watch and what they might see. But if they're in a group of friends, if they're at a school or at a park with a mate who's got a mobile phone, they could see it. They could see it through that way. It's so difficult. So you can't even say if your kid hasn't got a phone, you can wait. It doesn't work like that. So I think you really have to know your child. And going back to the last section that we were talking about, talk to your kids, talk to your boys. If you know what's going on in their lives, then hopefully you'll get signals and signs, and you'll know when's the right time.
I think you're right. I think that's the thing, is it's an ongoing conversation that develops over time, and it is about talking about bodies and what is right and wrong, what modesty is, how to treat one another. It's again going back to how do we treat each other as human beings? How do I treat girls differently? And it's this constant conversation that evolves and it grows into more and more. So you might not have had a specific conversation about online pornography, but you would have had a conversation about love, about marriage, maybe about kissing, just the start of those little things that then leads to a specific conversation about online pornography. And I think definitely 11 years old, most of the kids in the class will have a phone. Your child will most likely have a phone. You need to know what's going on. And again, as a parent, you want to be the one who is not controlling as in I can't let my child do anything without me knowing, but you want to be the one introducing these things to your child if you can. So
you want to be the teacher, not
you want to be the teacher, not someone else teaching your child and them coming to you saying, "What the heck is this about?" Yeah. Be on your guard as a parent.
I think, I totally agree with that, but I think there's an idealistic thing going on there as well. Like in an ideal world, that would be the best thing. I think I think a lot of us as parents, I think there is something about reacting to something. I think there's something. So sometimes stuff happens, and it's kind of a blessing that that it does,
It
and then you
forces
can
to
react.
deal with it. Yeah.
I think the danger is if you have a child who has been exposed to pornography for a length of time, for a number of months or years, and you've never spoken to them about it. I think that is damaging. But if you have a child who stumbled across it and it's his first time, and you are able to speak into that, it is. I think it's not the end of the world. I think sometimes that's a gift in a weird way, because it gives you a context to speak into.
But it leads off of having conversations with your child, and then they know they can come to you and talk to you about this, not just, oh no, I better hide this. I don't think my parents will.
I don't think it's the way to
it.
go. I don't think it's the way to sort of do parenting. But I think unfortunately, a lot of the times, it is what happens, and
what they find out.
They find out, and you react.
But you're saying, Kris, that if we're not just waiting for the chat, there might be a time when there's a big the chat. But you're saying, in the context again of, like we were saying last time, in conversation about all kinds of things, marriage, making love. You might be talking about. Even the intimacy of saying you don't crash in on mummy and daddy, even though they might say, ugh,
exactly,
is that the sort of thing mummy and daddy do? That then, but there's intimacy, there's a closed door there. There's something beautiful about this.
Yeah, exactly. It's the modern day, Deuteronomy 6. As you go along the road, you talk about these things. As it's the just conversations that come up as you see things. Your kids are going to see things. Advertisements are so close to pornography quite often that
and pop music and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, most films these days will have a love scene or some kind of love story, and I think that's where you have the opportunity to talk to them. But I think positive experiences is the best. Your family culture, even just mum and dad in the kitchen. And there's a flirt, there's a bit of fun happening, there's a
kissing between mum and dad.
That's right. And your kid will react, like the boy will go, ugh! And you can play that up and say, look, this is beautiful. This is in all seriousness, this is how it's supposed to be.
Okay. Pornography though,
however,
is not beautiful.
No.
And it seems that it's largely violent. It seems, and he says in this little article, which I think is absolutely right, that these are actors, and the women are acting, and so they're not enjoying this. It's often slave women that have to be doing this, for hours upon hours, one scene after the other scene. Being mishandled by men, and they're pretending to love it. So it's a good idea to really show this is a horrible horror film. Women acting as if they're enjoying it.
And I think he talks about the boys that he's worked with. It becomes something they expect. If they see this is how sex works on this film or whatever. This is what they come to expect in their relationships, and it totally wrecks relationships, because that's not how things work. It's not how things are supposed to work. You will never have a healthy relationship if you go into it expecting a woman to do stuff that you see in a fictional made up world. Which is actually not just a fictional made up world; it's a fictional made up horror show, really, because like you say, it's misogynistic. It's only pleasing the man. It's all about what the man's gratification, and it's not love.
Well, it's not making love, is it? And I don't think pornography uses that term.
No.
It's not a man and a woman in love, making love and becoming sort of united in caring and giving to each other. It's wham bam, thank you ma'am stuff, isn't it? It's come here, I'll do this. And even those terms, I mean, I won't use the words, but if you think about the terms that are used that replace making love, it just shows you, in one sense, that is not sex. It's more like rape. And rape isn't
an
sex.
aggressiveness about it, isn't
there? And it's an awful thing
Yeah.
if we're teaching our young men that sex is basically like rape.
Yeah.
And we mustn't do that. So we have to speak about this.
Yeah.
This is an ugly, it's really satanic version of sex, isn't it?
Yes, it's totally distorted and selfish.
Not gentle, not kind, not giving. No. Yeah.
No, I think I mean one of the things I love about this this sort of section is that he says that you'll need to have multiple conversations over many years about this, and the penny will drop in the end. And that's a brilliant way of putting it. I think that is something that that you're gonna again, and you can do this as you go along the road. So again, every film or not every film. It's one of those things. Do I have to speak every single time? No, probably not. It's going back to the saying stop it and actually naming emotions. I don't
sometimes we need to stand up and turn a film off.
Yeah.
And and sometimes we need to, if we've paid to go to see a film, we need to say, okay, I'm walking out.
Yeah.
Which is hard for some of us because I've paid 10 quid to go see this thing.
Do your homework.
No, but sometimes you can spin things on. Because the sex scene never really adds to the film.
No.
It's just rarely. This is why
it's unreal. It's most sex scenes,
even the nice ones are unreal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They finish, get up, put their clothes on, and go. And you think, don't you have a shower? So it's nonsense. Yeah.
But
Sorry,
no, and I think definitely as your kids are older and you're watching films with them, it's modeling that behavior of most of the time those scenes are. And it's not necessarily classed as pornography, those scenes. So pornography is much, much worse than that.
Yeah.
But if we as adults can't really even stomach those scenes that are seen as regular, or normal, how much worse would pornography be to actually sit there and watch one? But I think get back to the point of, as you're watching these shows with older teenagers, that have sex scenes in them, it is showing them actually it is okay to just whiz on through and be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 and sort of talk to the film that way and help them, have the courage to do that maybe when they're with friends and these. But again, that's not even pornography.
Yeah.
That's just what the world deems as normal.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, in a film, what we would call normal sex is that they're suddenly so taken up, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's like, way, and all the clothes are being ripped off, and you think it doesn't, I think if I ripped my wife's clothes, she'd be so angry. I've got to go and buy some more clothes.
Doesn't this happen normally for you?
No. That nothing would happen sexually because she'd be so annoyed that the button's ripped off and she has to sew it back on. But what that does is that we're so taken up with this force of sex that there's no real kindness in it. It's just two people, exploding with this force that they can't help themselves, and that's just wrong.
And that goes back to actually, and with pornography, it goes back to that I've got this urge, I've got this feeling, I need to do something with it, right? And again, that's where all of these conversations that we have with our boys, especially growing up, is yes, you do have emotions, you have urges.
Yep.
You are responsible for the way that you respond to those.
Yes.
And our job as parents is to help you to deal with those things. So you, as a boy, they might have these strong urges, especially if they're watching these things or if friends are talking in this way. What is their response going to be? Because that is what they are going to be responsible for. And that's what we have to help them to say, yeah, you're going to have this urge and it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to deal with it. It's going to be hard not to want to just push on through and, gratify yourself.
Well, again, in Proverbs, that's what the father does. He comes to the street where the prostitute is and he shows all of the urges. she's going to have lovely, Egyptian linen. It's, in other words, it's going to be nice. The smell is delicious. I mean, it's very interesting in that passage because she even says, "I've sacrificed. I've been religious. It's okay. We're all right." And she shows all of the pleasures, but as he says, it ends in death. It will ruin you. Now that's just sort of sex with a prostitute, in a way that you shouldn't be. You should be faithful to your wife. We're still coming back to pornography, which is treating women as objects of desire only. And that's so there's something bigger we want to teach our men, that these are women that, as we said last time, that we want to protect and we want to love and be kind to. And
and he talks about the sort of the pressure of the peer group as well, and that will come, he says that comes in at sort of 14. And again, it could come in earlier, but definitely by then you have got more competition. So that's why you have to have those good open lines of communication, because you're gonna have lots of competition. And again, like who are your kids' friends? That's a good question to ask. And what kind of influences are your kids getting from their friends? So I think definitely keeping the lines of communication open with your kids is one of the most important things that we can do as parents, and helping them to know that girls aren't just objects. They are people. They are they are fellow workers with you. They're sisters. If you're a Christian young man, that is not that's not a piece of meat. It's a sister. Treat her like a sister in Christ. And that can totally transform the way we think about girls. But saying that, teenagers they need again. I just think when I was a teenager, I was thick as anything, and like the urges, the desires, they do rage, and you need multiple different influences. So your other Christian parents, youth workers, people at church, all sort of inputting into your kids. It's all it's definitely all needed.
And wanting to show our men how to treat women, and that's Jesus. And look how kind he was to women. And even kind to women that were caught in adultery and stuff. He wasn't having those Pharisees just condemn her. He was kind and loving and straight, and he spoke truth into lives.
I mean, any woman Jesus interacted with, she ended up flourishing more. So for our boys, how are you going to end up? How are you going to have that goal? What an amazing goal! Every woman that you interact with or have a relationship with, and I'm not talking about physical or like boyfriend girlfriend. I just think any girl. Is your goal to help that woman to flourish?
Yes. Yeah. Whereas pornography is that woman is a piece of meat, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's all about you, and it's a horror.
Yeah. Okay, so that conversation. Just quickly though. So let's say your boy comes home and he's got something on his phone or whatever it is, computer, and what are you going to do? Or you find it on there,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where
the opportunity to say, I need to talk to this boy.
And
maybe not immediately, but it's again choosing your time, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. They talk about they go on to talk about sort of this website, which is where girls have given testimonies of abuse and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you need to be careful there. But in that kind of situation, I just think you just need to put your cards on the table and say, look, mate, if you have been there, that's a helpful thing. I don't think you have to have struggled with pornography yourself to speak into that. But just say, look, let's talk. We need to open this box.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not going to do any good to just sweep it under the carpet, and whatever, however it goes, it's going to be hard. Don't expect it to be instantly better, but sometimes you have to have those tough conversations.
Because if you're looking at porn,
to a good place,
and porn is basically the woman is there for my pleasure or just a sort of lump of meat, then it's going to be hard, isn't it, to look at the girls in your life and the women in your life as nothing but that.
Yeah, I mean, think about boys. They play the game, don't they? Rating out of 10, right?
Yeah.
We used to do that. I know we used to do that when we were younger, and it's not
Kris?
a good thing. Not going to do it. Gave it up a long time ago, but I married her, so but
off
like
the scale.
But that's sort of small scale, but that's all part of the culture. That's objectifying women, and actually the culture we live in has a lot to answer for, actually, because it's so many. The messages are so mixed.
Yeah.
So mixed.
Yeah.
Like I went back to the example of an old singer, Britney Spears, years ago.
Yeah.
The video and song that made her famous was, in the video she was dressed up as a schoolgirl.
Yeah.
And what is that teaching?
And hit me one more time. Well, I don't know what that. I guess it's a sexual reference.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's whatever it is, it's not good, is it?
No.
No. So it's. What kind of messages are we sending our boys in this culture? They're always mixed. They're always and it's totally inconsistent, and that's why we need to return to a biblical worldview on how to view men and women and how to treat women as men.
Yeah.
I think the hard, really
not how
hard
to treat
thing,
women as men, but how men should treat women as
That's
women.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here as a mom of 3 boys, and I'm really thankful that I am married and I have a husband who can deal with these things. Like if this situation were to come up in our house, I would definitely defer to Dean and say, you need to speak to this child about this. Now,
but I would also come and maybe get you involved somewhere along the line to sort of get a woman's perspective and get a woman's opinion on it, or I think
which is great and which is right. But let's face facts. There are lots of single parents in our churches, and how do we help the single moms deal with this with their boys?
How would you say?
Well, I think unfortunately, they are going to have to bear a lot of the burden because that's the position that they're in. But that's where I think also making church family important, having good relationships with men in the church, with youth leaders, where, yes, I would hope that if I was in that situation, I could have a conversation with my child, but I would also want a man from the church to come alongside. I would have to take it to them and say, look, this is the situation. I need someone to have a conversation with my boy.
Yeah.
And men of the church need to be willing to step up and to do that and to have those hard conversations, because not all of our families, are 2-parent families, and we need to address that. And the men in the church need to be willing to fill in that position and to take that on.
And also to say, it's not a bad thing to say as well to families where there is a dad in the house. Sometimes, a youth worker or a bloke in the church that your lad has a good relationship with, sometimes that can be...
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. A better way in.
Parenting is the main thing, but actually, the equivalent of uncles and aunts and people in the church and youth leaders are really helpful.
Yeah.
And often a teenager will open up more about pornography.
Yeah.
Because it's just it can be quite embarrassing, to talk to dad and mum about it. And that's brilliant, isn't it? That's brilliant. So I think church is great on this because we are modelling men and women and love, and we're unafraid to talk about making love. We're unafraid to open up books in the Bible like Song of Songs, which which talks about the romantic. They're beautiful pictures of sex, and we're unashamed to talk about sex. Actually. Yeah. In a way that's positive. So I do think church is actually a really great environment, isn't it? Yeah. Even for the young ones, just to see, oh look, there's lots of mums and dads and lots of
and that's this whole article is brilliant, but that's the tragedy of the world we live in, is that many families have removed that layer of stability from their lives, from society. Churches and church and God is out of the picture for many families. So I would say, if to anyone who's listening to this podcast who might not be going to church or involved in a church, it's such a brilliant community to have around you to help us raise boys that are good for the world. And that's what this article is all about.
Yeah, and in church we talk about emotions. We talk about pornography. We talk about the difficulties we had, and we do it in a safeguarding way, because Kris, you're the safeguarding officer, and so we know there's difficulties that men can have and women can have, and we put safeguarding in because we do believe we're in a sinful world that twists and distorts sex. Yeah. And that we're drawn to that twisting and distorting. So that's why safeguarding is a very important thing, and that's why we have it in the church. Do you want to say something about it?
No, I mean, I think that is key, and I do think with all of these issues, we as parents, we're going to mess up. We're going to get it wrong sometimes, and we may not always have these like we talk about. Yes, you should have this conversation, but sometimes those go wrong. Sometimes our kids don't want to listen to us, and as Christian parents, we need to pray about that. We need to give it to God. But that's what being part of a church where they're having all of these people around them, all these men around them who are of the same mind, who have the same beliefs, the same values, and they become the influencers instead of the kids on the playground, or, we want to fill their lives with people who have these strong moral beliefs, but not just moral beliefs, but they understand where all battles. Of the goodness, God gives good things, and sex is a good thing. Yeah. And, why is it a good thing? We want that, going into their heads from a very early age, and that actually sex and pornography are two totally different things. Yeah. One is good and one is evil.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think we should be calling pornography sex. I think let's call it pornography. It's a whole different game. Yeah. I think we'll finish there, but I do think that is right. I think that kids, as far as I can understand, that we always need, not our peers. We all talk about peers. Kids need their peers. I don't think so. I think they always need the sort of age group above them to be inspired by them. Yeah. And that's where church is really good, isn't it? Because if they see, so if you've got a 10-year-old boy and he sees the 14-year-old boy going on with Christ, that's who he's aspiring to. And then the 14 sees the 18-year-old, and the 18 sees the 25-year-old. They're aspiring to the next level because they always want to be older than they are until you're a certain age, and you always want to be younger.
I've
seen that any last bits of wisdom on pornography?
No, just
it's everywhere, isn't it?
You're going to have to deal with it.
We'll have to deal with it. It's everywhere. And I think but this is worth saying. If you are a male, the internet knows who you are. Yeah. They know more about us than people have known about us. Probably we know about ourselves. They know about our habits, and there are men all night working on trying to attract you. And they will use anything
to get you to click the next button.
The next thing, and porn and attractive women perhaps are the way in. So I know, as a 63-year-old man, I know my day. I know there's going to be where I'm not even thinking of sex, and there'll be something on the internet to try to, something to try to get my attention. And so watch that, know your world. So for instance, I haven't been on the bus for over a year now because of the whole COVID thing. But when I played chess on the bus, they know, because I was playing an online chess game, people who are around the world, they know about me. They know my age, obviously. Yeah. They know I play chess, so I must be a sad, lonely bloke who's 63, sad, lonely bloke, plays chess. He plays it at like 4:30 on the bus. I would come round on the bus from Kingston into Surbiton, and always there was a bing, Tanya is waiting for you, whoever she is. And she doesn't exist, of course.
The very scary thing is, and this is from a safeguarding point of view, is that they may say Tanya is waiting for you, but it could be a child.
Exactly.
That is being forced to be on a site. Yeah. And then you're headed down even a road that leads to nothing but disaster. Yeah. Your life, by one click of a button, your life could be ruined.
Absolutely.
And it's very, very dangerous.
Yeah. And how utterly annoying. And I don't want that. I'm just playing chess. I mean, I've got rid of that now. Because I'm just so annoyed that someone's using an algorithm to try to attract me down the line that you might say. So our kids are there. It's there. We're in a wicked world, and we've got to teach them how to follow God in this wicked world. Yeah, and that's where they need to pray. They'll fail. We're happy. Sorry, I'm going on now. Yeah. But we're happy to allow them to tell us they failed.
Yes.
Yeah. So we don't want kids that think they have to be so perfect they can't say, "Mum, Dad, look, I've got this stuff. I can't get rid of it." We want people to be open enough to be able to say, "Okay, that's all right. Yeah. We all fail. Let's deal with this."
As we said earlier, there's so much more we could say, But again, it goes back to we're living by a code. We're living by the word of God, which it has a category for that. We have
for forgiveness. And starting
exactly.
Again.
Yeah. We where does the non-Christian go? It's just an emotion, or it's just something they have to like.
And
try
you have
harder
to do it on your own. As somebody who believes in God, we have a God who will walk beside us, who will take us, who will help us through these. And we have a community of believers.
We have the Holy Spirit who is, he has by the power of the Holy Spirit, Jesus rose from the dead. He's the one who brings life to dead bodies, and to dead lives. Wow, why wouldn't we take advantage of that?
Boys to be boys and say to the to be able to say, "Don't show me that. Yeah. You don't treat women like that. Yeah. That's not what God says." Yeah. Exactly. And that they can be pleased in talking like that.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like with pornography, we need to see it for what it really is. It is a dragon that is not a pretty dragon. It's a dragon. It's a disgusting dragon who wants to rip you apart. And if you saw it for what it really is, you would be, you would want to run from it every day. Yeah. And so see it for what it really is, and battle against it, and don't ever, it will come to you as an angel of light. It will come to you as the most attractive thing that you can think of. Yeah. But it's the exact opposite. And so,
brilliant. We're going to close there. Come back next time, where we'll be dealing with another issue. I'm not sure what it is, on how to raise boys. But thank you very much.
Thanks.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of Raising Boys, and as ever, if you go onto our website, cornerstonechurchkingston.org, then there's plenty more resources that you can download, and if you go to our YouTube channel, our social media channels, you can subscribe and follow those as well, so you can keep up to date with all the content that we're producing.